Hello, I'm Ryan F9 and these are my favorite ADV and dual sport donuts. What surface do you ride on and how often do you do it? That's the question we need to ask because ADV tires are classified by the ratio of on-road to off-road use. Let's start with an 80-20 tire, 80% Tarmac Terminator, 20% Trail Trotter. This is the Michelin Aniki 3 and I chose it because it's super fast. The tread design looks strange because it's rare, and typically you only find tires like this in the supermoto world, and that gives us a good clue as to what this tire is good at. Cramped corners, low lean angles, whiplash acceleration, and braking. I told you this was a fast tire. If you ride your 600 to 1200cc adventure bike like a big supermoto, then the Aniki 3 is the only tire you should buy. It has quick but linear turn-ins, so it's very controllable, and it has really confidence-inspiring grip as well. It can hang with the Sport Tours no problem. My one complaint with this is that it's a single rubber compound. It's as hard here as it is here, so it can feel a little bit plasticky at the very limit. Bring your rubber out of the Stone Age, Michelin, and you'll turn this A tire into an A+. So the Aniki 3 is fast, but for touring, it's just mediocre. The silica compound means low rolling resistance and roughly 17,000 clicks of longevity, which is fine. Silica also creates a polar surface, which likes to push through H2O and bite the pavement instead, and that's obviously beneficial for rainy rides. But the Aniki 3 is loud as shit above 100 kilometers an hour, so I still wouldn't take one across Canada. It's also pretty mediocre for off-roading. These grooves hook up fine on dry fire roads, and they churn sand okay, but on wet dirt, they cake up instantly. Michelin cut some inner notches to improve mud evacuation, which was a cute effort, but the Aniki 3 is still totally hopeless on damp dirt. Also, the puncture strength is weak, so you won't want to take this on sharp terrain. But for a peg grinding tire that also lets you do a little bit of light off-roading, there's nothing better than the Aniki 3. Now moving towards the dirt, there aren't many 70-30 tires to choose from. I think the Shinko 705 and Continental TKC 70 match that ratio best, but of the two, save your money and get the Shinko. For one, it's almost $100 cheaper, plus it handles better in the dirt. Wet mud is a challenge, but it still evacuates a lot better than the TKC 70 with its solid center bend. The 705 is also reasonably long lasting. I'd expect 12,000 kilometers on a bike like my V-Strom, which is a little bit less than the TKC 70, but not enough to justify going up that price bracket. I also think the Shinko handles itself respectably on pavement. Not as loud as you might expect, and the profile is surprisingly aggressive. Just be careful at the very limit because corner and grip is predictable, but not plentiful. A lot of people get tempted towards the TKC 70 because it comes in more radial sizes and that's rare for a 70-30 tire. Also, it has a dual compound construction, so its cornering edges are a bit grippier than those on the Shinko. Plus, it's smoother and longer lasting on the straightaways with this smooth center belt. But the TKC 70 has a nasty secret. The front tire wobbles on some motorcycles, which is downright dangerous, so don't buy it. Get the Shinko 705 instead. The next tire is a 50-50 split, and ratios aside, it is the best piece of rubber in this video. Meet the Motaz Tractionator GPS. What's cool about the Tractionator is that it's reversible. Wear it this way for 50% on-road, 50% off-road use, but if you flip it around, you get a mostly off-road tire. Motaz is being vague in their wording, so I won't be. Mostly off-road amounts to a tire that is bumpy and loud on the pavement, but pulls like a train on the soft stuff. Off-road cornering and lateral grip won't be affected much, but in this rotation, the tire does churn in a straight line. And that's useful because most tires with the slick center belt, like the Heidenau K60 Scout, they struggle in generating upright traction on wet surfaces. The Motaz doesn't have that problem at all in mostly off-road mode, although it does struggle a little bit like the K60 Scout in the regular 50-50 orientation. Also similar to my beloved K60s is the wear behavior. This tire feels and lasts like it's made of iron. Early reports actually put it ahead of the Heidenau for mileage, meaning numbers are creeping above 20,000 kilometers, and that is ridiculous for such a competent off-roader. The Tractionator GPS lasts so long because of the tread depth. It's probably the deepest I've ever seen on an adventure tire. Also, this smooth center belt spreads the weight across the largest possible surface area. Obviously, that gives a civilized ride on the highway, but it's good for longevity too. Two warnings. The Tractionator takes a really long time to warm up, so don't push it until that plasticky feeling goes away. Also, it has slightly less grip at the very limit when compared to the K60 Scout, so if you're coming off Heidenau's, be careful of that. Otherwise, this is a better 50/50 tire in every respect. More durable, versatile, and grippy on the trails, longer lasting on the pavement. You can't beat it. Now, what if I'm not concerned with mileage? I want to haul ass on the pavement, haul ass on the trails. I don't care if I have to replace my tires 8,000 kilometers later. Well, there are two ultra sticky, fast wearing 40/60 options. There's the classic OG Continental's TKC80, and then there's this Korean ripoff Shinko's E805. Notice that I've already chosen the Shinko. Why? Well, it usually costs $50 less, and that adds up when we're talking about short-lived tires. Also, the Shinko organizes its tread blocks into a paddle formation, which makes it smoother and quieter on the pavement. It'll also last slightly longer than the TKC80 for that reason. And when it comes to cornering grip, it's a wash. Both tires carve equally well on the pavement because they both employ a soft rubber compound. That's why these 40/60 tires actually handle better on pavement than the more road-oriented Tractionator we just saw. It's just their terrible longevity on the road that earns them that 40% on-road, 60% off-road classification. Speaking of off-road, I put the Shinko ahead of the TKC80 there as well. The paddle formation hooks up better in the soft stuff, churning harder through the mud, climbing higher on the sand dunes. I will say, however, that the horizontal tread does create a lack of lateral grip on the rear, so the Shinko likes to slide sideways, while the TKC80 runs more true. But I value mileage and the ability to get out of a muddy hole more than I hate fishtailing, so I choose this Shinko E805 over the TKC80, and I keep my $50, thank you very much. Continental, put down the Bier und Bratwurst and get to work, because Shinko has you beat. I'm going to close this video with options for lighter dual sport bikes, typically 650 cc's and under. For a 50/50 split, I'd choose between the Kenda K270 and the Shinko 244. Upon visual inspection, there's not much between them. Obviously, somebody has copied someone else's design here, but let's not point fingers and just decide which tire is the right choice. Both run blamelessly on and off-road. Yes, they're a little loud and bumpy on the pavement. Yes, they're both sloppy in the mud, but that just comes with the territory for a 50/50 tire. Both boots offer insane mileage for the money. KLR guys report around 10,000 kilometers for either tire. In terms of cost, Kendas are always aggressively priced, but Shinko can play the cheap game all day long, so both tires are equally affordable. Alas, the only difference lies in the cornering knobs. The Kendas are softer thanks to these cutout supports, and they have more edges thanks to the secondary tread grooves. That means the K270 is more progressive to corner in the dirt. When you throw it into a berm, you'll feel it grip here and then release, and grip again, and then release. You get better feedback on the limit of grip. The Shinko 244, on the other hand, has stiffer edge knobs with fewer secondary ridges. That means it's more reliable on a paved curve. It's less likely to fold under and low side. So the choice is simple. Choose the Shinko if you like to push it on the pavement, and the Kenda if you ride more aggressively off-road. But if you ride really aggressively off-road and have a light dual sport bike, then you should get an 80% off-road, 20% on-road tire, like the Dunlop D606 or the Pirelli MT21. I've reviewed these two before, so here's the SparkNotes version. D606 lasts longer, corners better on the pavement, and is less likely to get punctured. The MT21, on the other hand, is stickier on the pavement in a straight line, it corners better than the D606 in the dirt, and it's easier to change by hand. Only tiebreaker is that the D606 front has a bit of a bad reputation for chasing ruts and for wandering on wet roads. Personally, I run an MT21 front with a D606 rear and love it, but if you don't like mating tires, just get a pair of the Pirellis. And that's it for my favorite ADV and dual sport tires. Thanks for watching.